Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. One moment, let others join and then we can start. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. All right. If you're just joining, can you let me know if you can hear me? Just chat in the pod. Just say hello. I can hear you. Just chat in the pod for me, please. Thank you. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Uh, we are going to start. All right, let's hit the ground running. When others join, they will catch us up. All right. So at the moment, I'm sharing the slide. Can you see the slide as well? Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Sheila. All right. Okay, so I have an hour to run through what I want to run through. And I'm hoping that this is going to be beneficial to you. And then my expectation is as well is that you will learn one or two things from this session. And also, I will share some of my experiences in implementing Agile. I've done it now at least three or four companies. I've done it in a startup company. I've done it in two multinational, actually three multinationals now. And I'm going to explain to you some of the challenges I faced, how I went around it, and the success that I've gotten by doing it. And then at the end of it, I'll be talking about the opportunities that exist in the marketplace that you can take advantage of and how we can possibly be able to work together if you want to. All right. So today's topic of the webinar is how to implement agile ways of working in any environment. All right. So in by definition first, let's first of all define what agile is. Now, the Agile Alliance. One moment, let me knock off my WhatsApp. The Agile Alliance explains The Agile Alliance defines Agile as the ability to create and respond to change. The ability to respond and to create and respond to change is a way of dealing with and ultimately succeeding in an uncertain and turbulent environment. So essentially, if you think about the way the world is structured today, things have become much more complex. Changes are happening so very, very rapidly. So if you want to be a kind of person who's just sitting on a one spot and basically allow things to happen to you and not responding to the situation, you're going to be left behind. So agile really, above all else, is a mindset. It's a mindset. Agile is really a mindset. Some people think agile is like a methodology, how to do things, how to do that. But the first thing with agile is there's a mindset. Okay. And here is the ability to create and respond to change. You create change, you respond to change. And now, how do you respond to change? Well, the only way to respond to change is to constantly be looking at what is happening in the environment and essentially making sure that you have structured yourself internally to be able to take the right decision very quickly. So it's about adaptability, which means an agile way of thinking is a way in which you are constantly thinking of how do you disrupt the status quo? How do you ensure that you don't do things the way you have been doing it yesterday? How do you ensure that you look at life in a different way? So agile is a way of dealing with and ultimately succeeding in an uncertain and turbulent environment. You think about it. If an environment is turbulent and it's not certain, you don't want to be rigid. You don't want to say, oh, the way we've always done it is the way we should always continue to do it. You have to be able to be somebody who's nimble, very fast on the ground, and be able to make changes very quickly. So that's what Agile Alliance defines Agile as. Now, you may all be familiar with the Agile Manifesto, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But the authors of the Agile Manifesto chose Agile as a label for this whole idea of being able to be adaptive and to respond to change. The word that is used to describe the phenomenon of adaptability and being able to respond to change very quickly is called agile. So, in a nutshell, if you're thinking agile, think adaptability, and quick response to change. So, agile is about thinking about how you can understand what's going on in the environment that you are in today, identify what uncertainty you are facing, and figure out how you can adapt to that as you go along. So notice that in this definition, I have not mentioned anything about project. I've not mentioned anything about software. I've not mentioned anything about anything that remotely relates to project management. I'm basically talking about a way of thinking. So even if you don't get anything out of this webinar, this first statement alone is more than enough. They say if somebody goes to ask you tomorrow and say, tell me what is agile, you should be able to say to them, agile is a way of thinking that allows you to be adaptive and to respond to change. And this definition actually is what makes agile has a different flavors. There are different flavors of agile in operation, which I'm going to show you later. All right. So this adaptability and being able to respond to change is very, very crucial. All right. Okay. So let's go. So what does the Agile Manifesto say? Some smart guys that were building software many years ago said that they have uncovered better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others to do it. Right. Now, one of the things that they learned was this: individuals and interactions are valued more than processes and tools. Working software is valued more than comprehensive documentation. Customer collaboration is more important than contract negotiation. Responding to change is more important than following a plan. So, what essentially it means is that people working together, interacting together, is more important than following rigid processes and tools. It's not saying processes and tools are unimportant. Essentially saying it's important that people are working together. Interactions between two people is what make organizations grow. The other point is saying here, in the second point here, is working software, which means the value that you're adding to the customer is actually the work that you are doing for the customer. So there's no point in having 1,000 reams of document that does not prove anything compared to I can actually open up the page and do something with what the customer says I should do. If the customer says you should what's it called, build a bottle of water, it's important to have a bottle of water that the customer can actually use than to have 1,000 pages of document that describes how the bottle is framed, the texture of the material, and so on and so forth. That's basically what he's saying. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. What this is saying is that because in any environment you have a business exists to make money or to add value to the customer. So when you have a product like you're selling bottles, you have customers who are coming to buy the bottles, right? And Therefore, it is important that you collaborate with the customers coming to buy your product than being hell bent on, oh, this is what the contract says, you know. So, and this is a good thing for collaboration and a good thing for adaptiveness as well, because don't follow the line of the letter, follow how can we work together to create a wonderful product. And the last part is responding to change. In our world today, in the 21st century, this last bullet point is probably the most important one, because if you are not responsive to change, if you say the way we've done is the way we've always going to be doing it, then it is not going to work. Please remember, it's not saying you should not follow a plan. It's essentially saying you can follow a plan, but don't let the plan hold you hostage. Be in such a be have such a mindset that allows you to respond quickly to change. So, why is being agile so crucial? Well, agile has emerged today as a huge global movement, extending beyond software industry, but it's now moving towards organizations begin to adapt agile because agile is useful to allow you to respond to a customer driven marketplace. Several years ago, when I started out in this market, there are very few people doing agile. Agile is like, hey, what's that? What are you talking about? What are you talking about that? And a lot of people also jumped on the bandwagon. A lot of people jumped on the bandwagon, all right, that essentially says that, oh, it's agile, let's just go and do agile, but you need to understand what you are doing. So why is agile important? Agile enables organizations to master continuous change. Now, if you go back to the definition that I started with earlier, let's go back here. This definition here says um, agile is about adaptiveness and responding to change. Adaptiveness and responding to change. So imagine where you are in a situation whereby the marketplace is constantly changing. If you want to be rigid, you don't want to be adaptive and respond to change quickly, then it is going to be difficult for you to catch up. So agile allows firms to flourish in a world that is increasingly volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Now, these adjectives that you've seen here at the bottom here: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. These four items will help you to remember why agile is important. If something is volatile, if something is uncertain, you don't know what's going to happen in 5 years from now. Something is complex, like artificial intelligence. Something is ambiguous, you're not really clear about it. The best approach to adopt is an agile mindset. All right, just okay. We don't have everything detailed out. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's rearrange ourselves in such a way that we can respond to changes very quickly. So here's a quote from Forbes. Forbes magazine says, now agile methodologies, which involve new values, new principles and practices and benefits, and are a radical alternative to command and control style of management, are spreading across a broad range of industries and functions, and even into the C-suite. So now this is where the agile way of working is going to come to play. You notice here, they're not talking about software. They're not talking about building software or running a project management, whatever. They're talking about a mindset here that says, actually, there are new values, new principles, new practices, new benefits, and a radical way of working, right, that is different from command and control approach that is now spreading across a broad range of industries and even into C-suite. Now, there's some example that we're given here. For example, National Public Radio employs agile methods to create new programming. So you just imagine a radio station using agile way of working to create new programming very quickly, adapting to situations on ground very quickly. John Deere uses them to develop new machines. So now agile way of working is being applied in manufacturing and Saab to produce new fighter jets. Think about that. Producing jets. Or think of like in the UK now, they have like a national rail big project that they've been doing for many years that takes so long time to deliver. Perhaps if they have used an agile way of delivering our project, they could get it done quicker. Because what it means is that you will get value out to the customer very quick. You don't have to build the whole train line, but you can break the whole network into small parts, whereby you say, okay, let us serve this area of the country first, get that out of the way, then do another part, then do another part, then do another part. That's a way of thinking, right? So another company here called Intronis is a leader in cloud backup services. Think about that. Cloud backup services uses Agile in marketing. That is absolutely awesome. Essentially, you use um, a cloud backup services, which is a company that just backs up, let's say, your iPhone to the cloud. Then it's okay, I want to do marketing. Let's use an Agile way. And I've seen this firsthand, this Agile in marketing, because when I was in Zurich Insurance, one of the projects I ran there was in marketing department. It was a marketing-led Agile project. And I introduced Agile as a way of working there to get the stuff done. And we got some very good results. So you can use Agile in marketing. CH Robinson, a global third-party logistics provider, applies them in human resources. Think of that. How it doesn't even make a lot of sense, right? But this begins to help you to look at the way the world is going. Agile can be applied in HR. Like I said to you, many years ago when I first started out, maybe like I can't remember now, but 2010, maybe like 12 years ago when I first started out in this market, you can only use Agile in software. But I have used Agile in most recent time, even in infrastructure. You are building servers and cloning servers and certain firewalls and creating storage devices. It's not software. It's essentially it's boxes, right? It's add boxes and use Agile to deliver a prayer like that. So again, what I'm trying to share today is about a mindset that will say, don't think Agile is just about software. Don't even also think about Agile as just being something that is used in project management alone. Actually, Agile can be applied across the stack. Mission Ben Winery uses them for everything from wine production to warehousing to running a senior leadership group. That's absolutely good, So there was a time when I was in Zurich as well. Some teams, some teams they're not using like Scrum, whatever. They use huddle board. You can use a simple huddle board where you guys meet every day and you deliberate what are you going to do today and you allocate tasks on a daily basis. You can use as simple as that. Could be a form of Agile that you begin to adopt in your organization. So a simple way to understand Agile is this. See this image here says Agile is a mindset described by 4 values, defined by 12 principles, manifested through an unlimited number of practices. Very important. Agile is a mindset. What mindset? Adaptability and respond to change, right? And you have 4 values. The 4 values we spoke about here earlier. These are the 4 values of Agile, right? These are 4 values. Yeah, the Agile Manifesto. Okay. Then it's defined by 12 principles. I can't talk about 12 principles here, but there are 12 principles of Agile, um, which which is an expansion of the 4 values. You have 12 principles. And then it manifested itself through number of practices. A practice is a way in which you take Agile and adopt it in your own organization. So now that we know that Agile is a mindset, now that Agile is underpinned by 4 values. Now that we know Agile has 12 principles, and now that we know that Agile can manifest itself in different practices, and that Agile can actually be used beyond and beyond software delivery, beyond project management. Let us look at what then therefore that means in terms of Agile ways of working. So, what is Agile ways of working? Agile ways of working, simply put, is a working arrangement which empowers the team members and the organizations people to work with full freedom. I'll say that again. Sorry. The working arrangement which empowers the team members and the organization's people to work with full freedom. That is, they are free to work when, where, and how they want to. Now, this is the game-changing phenomenon that is not happening in the world. And I want you to pay attention to this because this, if you get what I'm going to share today, it will change your thought process about the workplace. Before coronavirus, you have to beg people to say, I want to work from home. But now I don't even do any job where I don't have the flexibility to work from home. I don't do it. Recently I got a job with an insurance company and they were saying I have to come to the office. And I said, sorry, I can't do it. You know? So I don't even want to do like hybrid. I'm going to show you in a moment the difference between agile way of working and hybrid working. It's not even the same thing. But the key thing to take away with agile ways of working is anytime, any place, anywhere. You can work anytime, any place, anywhere. One of the experiences I've had with these ways of working was many years ago when I was working as an international delivery leader. I was managing a program across 10 countries. And on that project, I don't have to go to the office, you know. At times I work from cafe, I work from the hotel room, I work from airport lounges, you know, I work in my taxi, I work everywhere. All right. So, but this was before COVID, you know, but it gives me flexibility to work from anywhere in the world. I literally can work from anywhere in the world. Right. And that's one of the things that agile ways of working is saying. Now, the Agile organization defines Agile ways of working as bringing people, processes, connectivity, and technology, time and place together to find the most appropriate and effective way of working to carry out a particular task. It is working within guidelines of the task, but without boundaries of how you achieve it. So essentially, you're going to get given a guideline. This is how we want to work here. But the how is left to you on how you're going to achieve that. Now, this requires a level of trust in the people that you're leading, but it is the way I believe of the future. I sincerely believe, I sincerely believe that in the next 5 years, maximum 10 years, if we can crack the code where certain roles today that require face time, if we can crack the code where those roles do not require face time, I believe this is going to be the new way of working in the 21st century, where you can work from anywhere you want in the world and do anything you want and still get your work done. Obviously, there are issues to consider around security, around somebody hijacking your device and so on and so forth. But we're going to get there because coronavirus has shown us that you don't have to physically be in an office to say that you're going to work. Essentially, work is not an office. Work is what you do, and you can do that what you do anywhere. Now, is there a benefit to working um, in a physical location? 100%. There's serious benefits in being together and working together in a physical location. There's more collaboration, more cohesion. And so the way I did it in one of my projects, then I was the role I mentioned that I was traveling a lot. I was covering 10 countries. We had staff in Greece, I had staff in Turkey, I had staff in Bulgaria, I had staff in South Africa, I had staff in the UK, I had staff in about another five um, East African countries. And because of the diversity of the people and the different locations where they are, at times, again, this is pre-COVID. You know, pre-COVID, we didn't even have the technology to do agile ways of working properly. At times, we try to use Skype, and Skype will cut off and we won't hear what they're talking on the other side. So it was a bit frustrating. But so what I did is once a month, I'll fly my guys in, you know, from wherever they are. We'll come to a particular location and do our planning session there. So that way, we get to have a bit of a bonding session during that period. But the rest of it, they work from wherever they're working from, and it worked. Obviously, again, it has its challenges around the fact that companies might start to complain or the cost of travel and all that kind of stuff. But apart from that, is a way to have a blend of an agile way of working where you still meet from time to time to ensure that your team you are creating a kind of cohesion in your team. All right. So, what are the benefits of agile ways of working? Employees are empowered, innovative, and more productive. They have improved job satisfaction. You can attract the best talent. You can attract the best talent to your company. What that means is this: um, you can have somebody who is working in who is very good, but is in let's say Brazil, and you have a company in the UK who needs such a talent, but because the person cannot physically relocate to the UK, if you have an agile ways of working, the person can still be part of your team and work remotely from where they are, but they are contributing to your the growth of your company. So you're able to attend the right talent without physically them for them to come into to work in the office where your office is based. And a key one is better work-life balance. So the work-life balance means for those of you who are parents, you can attend your children games. You can attend PTA. You can have an evening meal with your spouse without having to rush through the traffic. There's a lot of benefits. You have better work-life balance. Then people are more motivated because I'm going to show you in a moment why. People are more motivated when they're working on an agile project. Why is that? A key thing with agile is you get to see result early on. You don't have to wait till the end of maybe 4 or 5 years before you are able to see result. You can see result right there and then. So the other thing is that when your employees are motivated, what does it lead to? They will do exceptional job, and that will lead to delivering on time, delivering well on your project or your products or services, and your customers will be more satisfied. Okay, and then the other thing is it leads to better bottom line of profit for the organization. So the more you have customers who are satisfied with what you're doing, the more they want to spend with you, then the more money you are going to end up making. Again, I believe agile ways of working is the future of work. I sincerely believe it. This is the future of work. So mark my word, is the future of work. It's going to happen. So what are the categories of AWOW? Because it empowers us to make decisions about when and how and where they want to work, we split this into 4 categories. Number 1, time. You can choose when you want to work. Number 2, role. What do you want to do? Number 3, location. Where do you want to work? Number 4, source. The teams and tasks you work with. So this future of work gives you choices. You are emboldened and empowered to choose your time, your role, your location, and the people that you work with. So in the current role I'm running, I have teams literally almost in, I don't know, maybe 30 countries. I don't even know the full extent of where my team members are based. And at times I start work at 8:30 in the morning. At times, I hang out with some guys in the US in the afternoon. Essentially, I'm not bound by the whole 9 to 5 construct. So you can work at any time you want because your team. This is very important because if you have teams working in different geographical zones, you have to be able to adapt, right? So agile ways of working helps you to choose your time, your role, your location, and the source, people that you work with. So now let's talk about flexible working. Flexible working is not the same thing as agile ways of working. Flexible working is when you are given flexible start and finish of the work, or they allow you to work from home from time to time, right? That's flexible working. Okay. Now, remote working is when you work from a location separate from your workplace. You are not required to physically come to an office. So recently, I was looking at a number of development roles out there, like Java developer, SQL developer, and all some of these developers. And these days now, there are platforms that allow you as a developer to be, let's say, in India or Brazil or in the Philippines and work for Silicon Valley customers without having to go to the US, right? So that's a kind of remote working. So remote working is a precursor, or well, it's a precursor to agile ways of working because when you have an agile ways of working, you might have people physically in the same territory where your company is operating from. You might also have people who are remote, but a combination of flexible working, remote working will be encapsulated in the agile ways of working. Why? Because agile ways of working really, really, really is about employees empowerment. Okay, so that you can achieve the anytime, any place, anywhere mantra. So, what are the things we must consider when we are looking at agile ways of working? We need to pay attention to behavioral management. So, this is absolutely important because without trust and accountability on both sides of the fence, agile ways of working will not work. So it's absolutely important that when you start to develop, start to implement agile ways of working, that you set the ground rules on how to foster trust and accountability. For example, people have to be clear about the work they are assigned to do. They have to be clear about what's expected of them. They have to be clear about how their performance is measured, how their work will be reviewed and assessed, the kind of support that is available for them as part of being part of the company. Number two, boundaries. Boundaries is talking about the rules and regulation and the work culture that you set in place to ensure that the team members can succeed. So, for example, you might say, if you have your work, you doing agile ways of working, you might say one of the boundaries you could say is that in this team, we respect one another. Which means if there are conversations that border on ridicule or that border on malignment, the team as a whole will pick it up. One of the things we do in an agile setup when we set up an agile team really is to set up what I call a team charter. A team charter defines the boundaries, defines what you want to see in your team, how you want to see yourself, the kind of behaviors that are tolerated by the team. So essentially, we see in a team an agile way of working, the team has a lot of power. Individuals in a team has got power. Essentially, you are not just an unknown person in a team. You are somebody who is seen as valuable, and your what you say is people pay attention to what you say. Number three thing to consider as part of agile ways of working is workspace. You need to be able to set up workspace that foster agile ways of working. What are the workspace that fosters agile ways of working? Well, before I answer that question, we go back here. Anytime, any place, anywhere mantra. Anytime, any place, anywhere mantra. You can work anytime, you can work any place you want and anywhere, right? So to have this thing, one of the things that you should be able to have is cafes, breakout areas, and informal meetings. All right. So essentially, you want to create an environment where people feel, look, I can work anywhere. If I need to work in a cafe, I can do that. Work in the breakout areas, I can do that. Now, remember I said earlier, there are still consideration around security because you also have to teach your people that if you're in an open area like in a cafe or whatever, you have to be careful about security training. You've got to do security training to understand, some of the danger about working in a place in public places. So you got to be careful about that. The last point to consider is technology. Technology is very important for the successful implementation of agile working. Now, when I told you about my experience when I was in working for that fintech company, and that I had to travel a lot, one of the challenges we had was technology because the technology to allow agile ways of working was not as prevalent as it was. I mean, this job that I had then was in 2017, 2019 was when I had the jobs 5 years ago. The technology was not as prevalent as it is now. Today, we have I think Microsoft and some other people have developed technologies whereby even if you're at home and you're joining a webinar or like a team meeting in the office and they had a whiteboard, you can feel like you're part of them because um, the technology zooms to the person's face who is talking. You can see the person who is talking. When they're writing something on the wall, they can zoom in so you can see it, and so on and so forth. So the technology is there now better than it was 5 years ago, and it's going to keep getting better. So technology, the tools and software are being developed that allow proper synchronization, that allows you to be able to uh, work better with other people, even though they might be in remote places. So that's another factor to consider. So the behavior, that set of trust, the boundaries, what can be done, what cannot be done, a workspace that allows for people to work uh, at any way they want, and the technology that essentially makes that happen. So these barriers, these barriers must be overcome. Trust and accountability. Can you trust the people that you want to introduce agile way of working? Maybe in the beginning, maybe it won't be there, but as you focus on the process, you're going to get there. An example I have was when I first started in the fintech company and I wanted to introduce the agile way of working to the team. I was told to start with a department first. So I started with a department, and people don't really understand how it's going to work. So my program was what we used as a guinea pig, and I began to train people. I trained the whole department. I can't remember how many people there were. I trained them on agile, on the agile way of thinking, on Scrum. I explained to them how things work. And essentially by constantly just talking about it and demonstrating it by the way we behave, people began to see, oh, there's a way of working in this team that is different. And I'm happy to say that today that company is full on agile. They're actually doing safe now as a way of working. But when I started, they had a very moribund, waterfally type way of working where it just takes so long for work to get done, right? Okay, so trust and accountability, which you can achieve by constantly being the role model, modeling the behavior, modeling the performance, and showing the result that agile is going to produce, which I'm going to show you in a moment why embracing agile is a no-brainer. Number two, the barrier that can prevent you from achieving this is company culture. If the culture of the company, which trickles down from senior management, is such that is anti openly hostile, they don't trust people, it's dog eats dog kind of environment, then it's going to be difficult. Agile as a way of working thrives in an environment where the individual is trusted to do the right thing, right? So essentially, you let people know that you trust them, you empower them to go on and get the work done, right? That's what makes agile to be different. Essentially, you are placing trust and value on the people that work with you, right? So that they can go out there and know, hey, I'm adding value here. You think about it. If you are in a company of somebody who constantly undermines you, who cuts you off when you speak, who second guesses you, who tells you you can't do anything, who in an unconscious way, ridicules you or attack your self worth. What great work can you do in such an environment? I'm assuming it's absolutely none. Now, but if you're in an environment of somebody who constantly affirms you and says, "Look, I know this work might be difficult, but I believe in you. I know you can do it." And the person, when you produce a piece of work, the person doesn't tear it apart. Doesn't commend you for the effort you've done, and in a kind way shows you areas in which you can improve. I'm assuming that you would love to work in an environment like that, where you are valued as a human being. And that is a culture. That culture affects agile ways of working. There are companies also that are resistant to change, they don't want to change. It's like, oh man, we're not doing that. We haven't been doing that for 5 years or 10 years. This is the way we've always done it. This thought process of this is the way we've always done it is anti-agile. Number four, management buy-in. You need to get management buy-in into agile ways of working. When I was working for a company called Zurich Insurance, um, what made it work for me at the beginning was I was reporting to the head of IT in the company, and he was brought in as a fresh guy as well into that company, and he said, "Look, I give you autonomy, do whatever you want. I'm going to protect you. I want this to work." And he said, "How are you going to do it?" I said, "Well, I have to introduce agile way of working, into this. Are you happy with that?" I said, "Yeah, do whatever you have to do." And that's what I did. Okay. Number five, progressive and forward thinking attitudes, very key to have somebody who is at the helm of affairs and somebody I mean, this ties back to culture anyway, to have, progressive and forward thinking people that says, hey, look, it's a new way of doing things. It's a great way of doing things. It's going to give us results. Now, number six, key, the team's ability to work digitally and use less paper. Now, this is why we're learning the tools that are out there is very important. So you want to be able to work digitally and use less paper. So, for example, in in I mean, this is line number six now is almost a no-brainer now anyway in 2022 because COVID has made everybody to become more digital to work with online platforms. So learning how to use the relevant online platforms allows you to track work, monitor what people are doing is very important. Last point, a barrier is lack of accountability. And tolerance of behavioral issues. So if people know that they are not accountable when you are trying to do agile way of working, think, oh, I can do whatever I like, then obviously your agile way of working will not succeed, right? So how do we enforce accountability in agile way of working? Even though agile does not, it's not a hierarchical management structure, right? You are still accountable one to another. So you are accountable to the team that you work for. So when I was working for the fintech, and we used to do what we call a daily stand-up, which essentially means we're working on a daily basis. We're coming to talk 15 minutes every day to talk about what did we do yesterday, what are we going to do today, is there any blocker, you know. In interest of privacy, I couldn't really mention names, but we had people in the team who like to you know, not pull their weight. And it became very apparent after like 2 weeks when the person keeps showing up in meetings and say, "Oh, I'm working on this." You're working on the same thing for almost 2 weeks. Like, no, that can't be right. And it becomes embarrassing, right? Like you can't hide. You can't hide. So if somebody feels they're not accountable, they will just they will not make agile ways of working work. But if they know that they're accountable, not even to a manager, to themselves, to the colleagues and peers that are working together, then they don't want to be the one that drops the ball, right? So that's why agile ways of working works. So let's look at these amazing statistics. So there's a website called goremotely.net, right? You can go and find this information there. That's why I got this information. Here are some of the adoption statistics that we found. At 71% of companies are adopting Agile. So if you think, oh, this is not working, nobody's adopting Agile, look at the number. 71% are adopting Agile. So the market is going to can only go bigger. Agile adoption has helped 98% of companies. 98%. So for companies so essentially for every 10 company that adopted Agile, 9 out of them or 9.5 out of them is possible to have that, has been helped. So the US government literally, as like any government organization, it will run projects in a traditional way, finish this one and then this one and then this one. And through that method, they lost 32 billion as a result of failed IT projects. 60% of companies experience growth in profits after adopting agile approach, which means 6 out of 10, that's more than 50%, experience growth in profits. So agile essentially adds to profitability. So 80% of federal IT projects now are adopting agile. This is based in the US. 80% are adopting agile as a way of working. Agile failure rate is 8%. I'm going to show you the one for waterfall if I have it on the slide. I think waterfall is about 30%. So agile failure rate is 8%, right? 8%, which means it's less than one out of 10. 1 out of 10 will fail, which is a very good one. Then the salary for an agile project manager is 90K, right? That's average. So again, this is based on the US market. In the UK here, probably it's going to be 60,000, 70,000, or 80,000 pounds, depending on your experience, but agile project management is a good role to have. Then Microsoft Project is the most sought after project management software because you can use that to do a bit of planning. Now, the other one is 80% of chief marketing officers have noticed an increase in productivity. So I shared with you earlier that some companies are using Agile for marketing. So here we see 8% of CMOs, 80% of them noticed increase in productivity when they started to adopt Agile. As a matter of fact, in 2019 to 20, I was working for a startup company, an insurance startup company, and it's not a big company, but the guy who was running the marketing department, I introduced him to because I was hired as head of transformation, so I brought in transformation way of working in the company, and the person who was running the marketing department. I basically got some of his work into the agile way of working, and that improved the engagement level. All right, so this also to tell you that marketing is using agile as a way of working. There was a Again, you can get all these statistics from goremotely.net. Stats data says a global bank reduces its cost base by 30%. So imagine if it takes you, if you spend $100,000 every month on running your company, and that's slashed to 30% of that. So that's slashed to maybe $70,000. That's, you can take that 30,000 that you've saved and put it in some sort of other asset base or investment. So agile adoption is now the norm and has replaced waterfall. It is the norm. It's either anywhere you go now. Agile, like I said 12 years ago, agile is not common when I first started. But it's like it's the norm now. It's like, hey, agile, that's what everybody's talking about. Okay. Now, agile success rates are more than 1.5, or it's almost double that of waterfall projects. So this is what I was saying earlier. Agile failure is 8%. Waterfall, which is the traditional way of doing projects, is 21%, which means for every 20% is like 1/5, right? So which means for every 10 projects, uh, for every 10 projects, 21% of that will fail. Whatever that figure comes to. Now, 40 more companies are now using agile adoption processes more than waterfall. 27% of manufacturers rely purely on agile. So there's a big opportunity here now in the manufacturing industry, because 27% means there's still room for growth for you to get agile introduced into more of this space. FBI, think about that. FBI benefited from adopting agile. I don't know how, but if FBI is using agile, which is possibly one of the one of the most rigid institution in the world, you can think about, what are you waiting for? Now, last point here is the AI software market. Now, AI fulfills the mantra that I shared earlier. Let me go back up. There's something I shared here earlier, just so we can all be on the same page. I said something here about adaptivity and respond to change. Yeah, that when you're not certain about what is going to happen, agile is the best way. Now, when something is complex, yeah, I think I got it here. When something is complex, yeah, here. When something is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, yeah, you need agile. Well, there's nothing more ambiguous, complex than artificial intelligence, because yeah, that is the future, really. That is what everything is going. 15 billion. This is even this is even small. The market is going to eat trillion. It's going to eat trillion, because essentially with automation, the AI becomes more and more important. So how do you adopt the agile mindset? There are three things to understand. There's people, process, and technology. People, process, and technology. People means to adopt the agile mindset, you need to train your people from the top corporate to entry-level employee about agile. You need to invest in your people to train them. So when you get called to say, hey, come on, run agile for us, remember, you need to start with training first. You need to make sure that they understand that they need to understand what agile means. They need to understand what it entails and how to go about it. Number two, technology. There must be technology in the company that allows for fast, frequent release of new services and products. For example, in the IT world, you might have heard about DevOps. DevOps is actually is a framework. It means developers and operations. And what it means really is that the way developers are developing, operations too are deploying. So in order for that to happen, to have that constant release of new products, there's something we call continuous integration and continuous development. Developers have to continue to develop work, and that work that they're developing has to continually be integrated, coupled together, and then be deployed out. Right. So you have to have a platform that allows that to happen. And then number five, processes. You need to ensure that there are agile processes put in place in your company that can foster growth. So the agile mindset or the agile operating model focuses on people, process, and technology, and people, process, and technology in light of what has just been described. So, how do you put Agile into action? There are 6 steps here. The first one is initiation. Second one is training, piloting, retrospectives, launch, and sustain. Let's talk about each one of them. Initiation means you are starting out. Here you are defining the strategy. What kind of Agile do I want to run? What are my roadmap? How is it going to work? What do I want to achieve? All right. That's initiation, right? So essentially it's about setting the goal, setting the vision of where you want to go in what Agile means for you. Agile might mean faster time to market. Agile might mean quick response. Agile might mean better customer service. Agile might mean quicker ability to be able to produce new proposals. Whatever Agile means to you, you need to define that. Make sure it's communicated. So when I was hired with by the fintech company to come and they actually didn't say to me, come and do Agile ways of working. They actually said, we have this problem. This has been ongoing for 2 years. Nothing is happening. Come and help us. So I came in there and I said, well, what you need is an Agile way of working. So what did I do? First of all, I reviewed, their current practice. How are they working today? What things are not working? We had, that review done. And I said, well, the following areas are missing, right? The following things are missing in your current methodology is not working. You need to adopt an Agile mindset. Oh, how do we do that? But this is Agile. Explain what Agile is to them. Got a bunch of them to go for training. Train all of them, coach them and coach them and coach them. Then we move into piloting. Piloting essentially means let's take a project and apply what you've learned into this project. Essentially, you learned and you do. And that's, for me, that's the way I know how to work. When you learn something, put it to use. Because if you don't put it to use, it's not going to work. You can say, oh, I know how to do it. Unless you actually work it, you don't know that you know it. All right. So we got piloting, which means we took one of our, out of the program, we covered a small element of it and said, let's run this using Agile, and started running the sessions like that. And then we got into retrospective, which essentially means how have we fared? Is it working? Is it not working? What do we need to improve? That's what retrospective is all about. And then based on that feedback, we then start to consider how to launch this to other projects across the company. All right. And then the other part is about sustaining, making sure that you are building on the successes of what you have launched. So the more you move from one project or one department, then you move what you've achieved in this department, you move it into HR, you move it into operations, you move it into support as well. So you can essentially, once you launch one cycle, you can use that to launch more and more cycles of different departments. And the way to make sure that happens is through a sustainable model. Right. So once you've launched, whatever you've learned during the process, you template it. You make it like a template that is repeatable, that somebody else can pick up and say, okay, I'm going to follow this method. So let's look at real life examples that I got, and then I'll talk about my own experience. Okay. Just give me about another 10 minutes, I should be done. So real life example. So a US-based global professional services adopted Agile ways of working to better align IT with the business, thereby ensuring consistency in its business practices and accelerating time to market for its services. So notice this ones, the key objective here is to accelerate time to market. So by implementing Agile methods, the company's time to market for new service offering grew 40% faster. The firm saw a 70% reduction in software products and services defects, and its 3,800 employees reported being more engaged with their work. That's a real life example. This is something that's happened to a company out there who's adopted Agile ways of working. Another bank in Europe, the goal was slightly different. In this case, leaders embark on Agile transformation to respond faster and more effectively to customer needs so that it can maintain its competitive edge. The bank's goals included delivering services faster. They want to deliver services faster with better features. So what services faster to the market but with better features and within budget while maintaining employee and customer satisfaction. You can see that these ones, they have very high goals. They don't want to spend more money, but they want their employees to be happy, and they want to put more features into what the customers get. All right. And guess what they got? By upping its agile ante, the organization experienced a 30% uptick in its time to market space. Usually, they able to get things to the market 30% faster than they used to, against this complex expectation. And he achieved a 95% customer satisfaction while strengthening its corporate culture. That is what has happened out there. And there are many more stories. You can go online, Google it, how people have adopted Agile and how it has worked for them. So let me share with you my own example, right? So I'm going to just share one. So here, I was hired to work as a senior project manager, I think, or senior project manager, web delivery lead. So I wasn't even hired as an agile coach or whatever. I was hired first as an agile delivery lead. So as a web delivery lead and senior project manager. So I got into this insurance company, and one of the things that I did was, this is what I did. So I'll just tell you what I did following this six approach. This is what I did, and then I'll just explain to you what we got. Okay. So when I first got in, I got the head of IT. I was appointed head of IT, and he gave me his support. He said, "Listen, we've been running this program for 18 months, and it's grossly delayed. I want you to come in and help us. What can you do?" And I said, "Listen, I believe Agile is the way to go. So whatever you want to do." All right. So I got my own program carved out for me as part of this big program. And what I did actually was, I went through the whole bidding process to try and get the right kind of vendor in. But I wanted to get a vendor who understands development, but that's got staff that's malleable. So what I did was, I went into recruitment drive to get on board the vendor. We went through a vendor selection process, selected the vendor that we want, and then I went through a process where I started hiring people from the vendor. I will interview them, ask questions. Do you understand Agile? Do you understand how it works? Ask all those kind of questions, and then I brought them in. When they brought them in, the first thing I did was to go to training. So I did training. I locked them all up in a room. We all locked ourselves up in a room and spent half an hour, so, half a day, like Scrum adoption meeting or Scrum introduction. Just explain to them how Scrum works, get them to ask questions, send them materials to read up about it. Everyone, whether you're a developer, whether you are this or that, get them to do that. All right. And then once that is done, then I ask for a dedicated project office where we can all sit down together. So set up the place, technology, set up the technology arrangement, TV, board, things on the wall, everything's set up like that, so that when people come in the morning, they'll sit down together and they will talk. And then we started having our daily stand up, to talk about things. The other thing I did was, I got the key stakeholders, train as well. I said, "Listen, this is what we're doing. This is the way to forward for this thing to work. I would like you to be part of this. I would like you to go take this training." So now you have senior management, or you have people that are doing the work on the same page around training. They understand what Scrum is. They are speaking the same language, right? Now, having done that, we started working using a pilot to pilot one of the components of the delivery, and started producing a report, which is essentially, we produce our report in terms of how progress that we're making, impact that we're making, and then we co-opt other people in the team. I also set up a change champion group. A change champion group essentially are people who are going to be there to talk about where things are going. They are close to the project, but they're also close to the business. So they come in here, see what we're doing, and then go talk about it in the wider stakeholder community. So that way we began to get a bit of traction, a bit of goodwill, as it were. And we continue like that. All right. And obviously we started following the agile approach, agile scrum approach, in terms of our daily stand-up, our grooming session, our retrospective, and so on and so forth. That way we're able to work. So we started working actively through that. And so the piloting that we did gave us sort of kickback, like says this can actually work, right? And we got that work done 6 months ahead of the traditional way of delivering projects. So there are other departments that are doing this, they're trying to do the same thing that we're doing, but they're not doing using an agile way of working. Theirs got they didn't deliver their project 6 months until about 6 months after we adopted our own. Now, the other thing that didn't happen in that exchange was at the end of my role, actually before I finished my role, one of the other department, the marketing department, then came to headhunt me and say, look, we need you to come and do the same thing for us in this other part of the business. And that's why I moved into the marketing department, and I worked there for another maybe I think 6 months or 8 months, helping them to show them how to adopt agile ways of working, restructuring their ticketing system. So when people raise tickets and say we want this, we want that, help them to rearrange that so that they can respond quickly to customers. And then the other thing that I did that I think was very good was as part of training, I also then began to mentor other people that I said, look, when I'm no longer here, you can pick this up and go. Now, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to mentor other people based on what you know? Because number one, you cannot stay in a place forever. Number two, you need people that will carry the good work that you've done and make sure that it is entrenched in the organization. Number three, why you need to ensure that you mentor other people is because you are helping the agile community to grow by replicating yourself, right? So when you're good at something, share with other people, and those other people that you share with, they will reach farther than you can reach if you are the only one trying to do it by yourself. There's only so much one person can do. So when you begin to mentor other people and send them away, or mentor other people and impact to them, they go out there and they become good ambassadors, right? One of the things that the company gained was saved $500,000 in maintenance costs, and some of the KPIs that are on the website, web estates, got improvement, significant improvement, some up to 100% by the time we finish this work. So, what is the starting point for you? What do you need to do to become an agile way of working expert? First, you need to be grounded in agile. Remember, agile is a mindset shift. So become grounded in agile. Okay. Number two, gain certification. You can go get Scrum, Kanban, Safe, or less certification. You can go there and get some certification. Certification is not the beat and end it of it. Certification helps to open the door. Certification will help you so that people will listen to you because they know that you've been certified. But the next point I want to make is really important. If you have gotten certified, but you don't get coaching, you might struggle a bit. That reminds me of a story of a guy who was, he was actually, I think he's already gotten his Scrum certification. He's already working as a Scrum Master. He's working as a Scrum Master in a support role, but it was finding it difficult to get a job. So I was called upon to say, hey, look, this guy's been struggling to get a job. Can you help? I said, yeah, not a problem. So I spent, I think, 4 or 5 sessions of 1 hour session with this guy, just run through questions. If they ask you this question, this is what you say. If they ask you this question, this is what you say. If they ask you this question, this is what you say. And ran that through with the person. And shortly after that, I think within 2 months, after that, if I even got 2 jobs, say, hey, which one should I choose? Right? And that's a good problem to have, right? So certification is important, but you also need to get coaching. And the kind of coaching that we offer, for example, is a practical work experience where you're actually working on a life project. The last point is very, very important. Learn to get continuous mentoring or on-the-job support. At times when you come for training, you get trained, you get excited, you go away. But if you get a job and you don't constantly have a support network, at times you can get frustrated. There are times when I've been asked to do some things and I don't know what to do. Within my network, I'll just ask, hey guys, do you know how to do this? You need that. You need that kind of on-the-job support to build up your confidence. So, how can we help you? How can we help? You can gain certification through our company, Consumer Academy. If you already gain certification, that's fine. You can join the Agile Working Experience that we have coming up on the 29th of October for 3 months. You work on a live project that you can put on your CV. You'll be coached on how Scrum works. You'll be coached on how to answer interview questions. You'll be coached on how to make sure your CV, rise above the stack. You'll be coached on how to manage a project because you're going to be working on a live project with other people. It will help to build your confidence. Again, all the things that Agile ways of working gives, you're going to experience them because you're going to be working on a live project with a team of people that are just doing Scrum. So for this project, it's just simply Scrum. It's not project management, it is Scrum. You learn about Scrum right from the get-go. You start to adopt the Scrum framework. And then if you want on-the-job support, if you need it, you can also get it. So the way I sort of look at it is that if you're on the call, there are 3 levels you might fall into. Number 1, you may not have certification, no training, no nothing about this. If that's the case, you need certification, you need training. Okay. And you don't have to do them in that order. Yeah. You can get your work experience training, and then you can get your certification later. It doesn't have to be one after the other. It can be done either in parallel or it can be done one after the other. But you can do the work experience regardless of whether you've done certification, because the work experience will cover the necessary training you need anyway to get you going, right? Okay. So first thing is, if you don't have experience at all, you've never done certification, please remember certification is important, all right? It might not be a game changer, but it's absolutely important. Okay. So if you don't have certification, go get certification. You can get through us, or you can get through any other person that you want. It's no problem. Okay. Second one, which is what we do best or better, is work experience. All right. We give you a project, and that project you work on it on 3 months with other people, and then you get reference at the end of it. At the moment, we're in the process of setting up the US company. So if you are joining from the US and you're on the call, you end up having a company in the US that'll do your reference for you, so we can put on your CV as having worked for a US company. If you're in the UK, again, you get a UK company to put on your CV, so that way you can talk through, this is what I did for this company when I was here. All right, so that's the work experience. And the third thing is on the job support, right? So you might have, for example, you might have certification, you might have just gotten a job, but maybe you're struggling on how to make Agile work. Then you can get on the job support kind of mentoring that will mentor you along the way. But suppose you have certification and you don't have work experience, get the work experience. If you don't have certification, you don't have work experience, well, get the work experience first. Again, get that certification before you finish your course. If you have certification, you get some work experience, but you're on the job, you need support, only get the job support. You don't need the other two because you're already working anyway. Okay, so that is what we offer. So here's the thing, yeah. You have certification is about £600, work experience is £1,000. Now the job support is £200 a month, which means you pay this a rolling one. But if you want to put all of this together and bundle them together, we have got a payment plan for you, right? So you can, let's say, for example, you want to do work experience alone, you can get a work, click on this link to get a payment plan, okay? Which means it allows you to split this money on 1,000 over a 3 months period, and you don't have to pay anything today, So once you set it up, the first payment will be taken a month from today by the company, so that you can apply this payment plan to any of these things. The only way you cannot apply payment plan to really is on the job support. So essentially, if you want to do on the job support, you cannot pay that 3 times. You have to pay it once. But let's say, for example, you're buying on the job support, you're buying a 3 months on the job support, which will come to £600 in total. You can use the same thing to spread over 3 months. All right, so what I want to do here, as my time is gone now, is I'm going to post a link in the chat. If you need to get clarification on any of these things, you can book a session. We call it goal clarification session. You can book a call with our team, and then we'll talk to you about it. All right, so I'm going to stop now. Any question from anyone? before we go? Yeah, the recording will be shared. Yes. Okay. Right. So that's the link. You want to book a goal clarification session, click on that link. And then um, if you want to take advantage of the payment plan, I'll also post that in the group. Remember, you can pay that 3 times. But the key thing I want you to take away before you log off is that you in the future that is I see this is going to happen. I don't know how to explain to you beyond the fact that I see that in the future that we're going, you absolutely do not need to travel to a far country to work for a decent company. Because it's already happening in the software industry. In the software industry, there are people, even in Nigeria or in Ghana, software engineers that are very good. They're working for Silicon Valley company. It's already happening. And it is going to happen for Scrum Master. It's going to happen for Scrum Product Owner. It's going to happen for Project Manager. It's going to happen. I can already see that it's going to happen. So what you want to do is take advantage of that now. Make sure that you prepare yourself. So as things get as the world becomes global, as the world becomes smaller, you want to put yourself in the forefront of that. Where somebody say, "Oh, I need a Scrum Master." Just imagine this, for example. Imagine you're living in a country that's got good internet network, and the tax is not as heavy as where you are, and you're getting paid in dollars, for example. Then you have the work-life balance. You have more money in your pocket, and you're not subject to the tax regime. So it's actually a win-win situation. And there are a number of platforms that I've seen out there that where this is going to be coming through. So pay attention to that. So how does the work experience work? There's a question here. So the way the work experience works, we're going to start in 2 weeks. 2 Saturdays from now, we're going to start. The way it works is you have a kickoff meeting. You have a team that you're going to work together on a live project. It might be building a mobile app, it might be building a website, and then we will show you. First of all, we'll teach you how to build a website. What's the website development life cycle? How does it work? So you understand that, and then once you understand how the website life cycle works, then what we're going to do is set you up on different platforms. So we have Microsoft Teams that you're going to use. You're going to have access to Jira. It's a platform called Jira that we use, or you can choose to use DevOps board, which we also have access to that. You're able to set things up there, and then you're going to have a planning session where the Scrum product owner, the Scrum master, all come together, and basically brainstorm on the stories that the Scrum product owner wants us to work on. So you essentially have to start following the Agile ceremonies as a team, right? So, but you meet with your coach once a week. You will do your daily stand up, 15 minutes every day to catch up on where work is, just like a standard Scrum, and then you basically run through that over the next 3 months, where you're working together on a project. You get coached every week by your coach, and then you will work together with your team on a daily basis, 15 minutes. So it doesn't matter whichever country where you find yourself, you can do this. You can do this. You definitely can do this. But if you don't have certification, it doesn't stop you from joining. You can get certification from us if you want, but you don't have to get it from us if you absolutely don't want. You can get it from somewhere else. But what we are absolutely keen about is showing you how you can be a Scrum or an Agile advocate, so that when you go out there, and a lot of what I've shared about today, this is how to run Agile, this is what to do, and you have access to all those tools. With the tools, you learn how to write user story, how to refine user story. You work with our own internet developer. You work together with our internet developer, so that you know how to work with a developer, not as somebody that you can't talk to. You have a developer. You all work together to deliver the project. And at the end of the project, you will get a reference. We're going to give you a reference that you can put on your CV, and we're going to reference you. You're also going to run an interview mock-up scenario. So before you go, we're going to run an interview mock-up where we say, okay, sit down here. You want to work for us. We're going to ask you a question, like you're attending a real interview, and we're going to give you feedback. Don't talk like this. Don't talk like that. Don't talk like that. One of the ladies I did one of the last session that we had, she's working for I can't mention the name of the company, but actually I can mention, but nobody will know anyway. She's working for DWP, and she told me that thank you. She sent me a chat one time. Well, actually, last Christmas, she sent me like Amazon voucher card. She said, "Oh, I just want to thank you for helping me because when I got to the work, everything you taught was exactly what was coming out. So I was just rolling with it because I knew what I was talking about. All right. So it's very good for you to get access to training that will help you. It's good to get certification. Don't get me wrong, but if you get certification and you don't know how to do the work, then it's not going to work. All right. So if you want to know more, please click on this goal clarification link. It will show you availability of when we can talk to you. We'll talk to you and explain things to you better. And if you want a payment plan, like I said, there's payment plan that you can click on that link and then you can pay over three times. So if you're taking a work experience, it's £1,000, but you don't need to pay. You don't even need to pay anything today. You click on that link. This then will set you up for a 3 months payment plan, and I think they will take the first payment next month. All right. Okay, so essentially you can have access to the training without even paying $1, £1 today because the payment will be taken in 30 days from now. All right. Any other question? All right. Okay. Please, the recording. If you join through registration, you'll get the recording sent to you. If you don't join through, maybe somebody sent it to you and you didn't register. Again, please, whoever sent this to you, tell them to send you a replay. You can replay it back. If you want to join the work experience, like I said, we're starting in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. The link to pay is in there for your payment plan. If you want to learn more, you can click on the goal clarification call link so that we can book a session and talk you through it. All right. So on behalf of myself and everybody working with me, I want to say thank you very much for being part of today's session. I really appreciate your time. Please enjoy yourself. Please remember the future of work is agile and there's no going back. The world has changed. COVID has made that happen. So it's a matter of time before things start to change. Thank you so much. Have a good one.